I'll show you something that I think is very important from a local news station. And this is not about someone fighting back against Trump. It is actually not about politics at all. It is about the character of what Trump has done to the government and what Trump is doing to the country. It's about what he has agents of the federal government doing in the United States, the real life consequences of this shambolic mess that he has made of the US government in just this short amount of time that he has been back in office. So this is from KFOR, which is the NBC affiliate in Oklahoma City. They aired this report last night in their 10 p.m. local news. They told us today that they had such an overwhelming response from their viewers reacting in shock to this story, that they continue to work the story today. They featured it again tonight with updated reporting on their primetime broadcast at dinner time. So I'm going to show it to you. I mean, I know everybody in the national media is doing their 100 days of Trump reviews or whatever right now. Honestly, here's mine. For me, I think this local news report, this is kind of all you need to know about this president and his character and the character of his leadership and the government that he runs and what he is doing to this country. Just watch this.
New at 10, a family traumatized after armed federal agents busted into their home as they were sleeping and took almost everything they own. Problem is, they were not the people agents were supposed to be looking for.
News 4's Spencer Humphrey is here with their frightening ordeal. Spencer, what's going on here?
Yeah, well, get this. That family just moved here about 2 weeks ago from out of state, and this is how their life in Oklahoma got started. They say they told federal immigration agents they had the wrong people, but those agents kept treating them like criminals, even though they're all U.S. citizens. Fear.
Because I did feel at times that I was going to die.
So much fear.
I kept praying. I said, God, please let me live through this moment.
Humiliation.
I was a zero. I was nothing.
Pure disbelief.
I just couldn't understand, how is this happening to us?
All just for wanting a fresh start.
You come to Oklahoma and you get treated like this. For what?
This woman, who we're calling Marissa, and her 3 daughters came to Oklahoma from Maryland looking for a slower, more affordable pace of life. They rented this house in a nice, seemingly safe northwest Oklahoma City neighborhood. Her husband planned to join them this past weekend, but any semblance they had of comfort went out the window when 20 men armed to the teeth busted through it Thursday morning.
I don't know who they were. They had guns. It was dark. All the lights were off.
They were federal agents, Marissa says, with the U.S. Marshals, ICE, and the FBI.
And I kept asking them, like, who are you? What are you doing here? What's happening? And they said, we have a warrant for the house.
They ordered Marissa and her daughters outside into the rain before they could even get dressed.
They wanted me to change in front of all of them, in between all of them.
The thing is, the suspect names on that search warrant were not Marissa's or anyone in her family's. They were, however, names listed on mail still arriving at the house. Former residents, perhaps.
We just moved here from Maryland. We're citizens. That's what I kept saying. We're citizens.
She says they didn't care.
We weren't criminals. Why were they treating us like criminals? We were here by ourselves. We didn't do anything.
The agents ripped apart every square inch of the house, taking their phones, laptops, documents, and their life savings in cash as evidence.
Like, I have to feed my children. I'm gonna need gas money. I need to be able to get around. Like, how do you just leave me like this, like an abandoned dog?
And when they left, they told her something.
I know it was a little rough this morning. It was so denigrating. Like, you do all of this to a family, to women, your fellow citizens, and it was a little rough. You have literally traumatized me and my daughters for life.
This family has virtually nothing.
And I said, when are we gonna get our stuff back? He was like, it could be days or it could be months.
Nothing but questions.
Well, what if I would have been armed? What if you're breaking in What am I supposed to think? My initial thought is we're being robbed. My daughter's female daughter's being kidnapped.
Nothing but likely lifelong trauma.
We have guns pointed at our faces. Can you just reprogram yourself and see us as humans, as women, a little bit of mercy, and care a little bit about your fellow human mate, about your fellow citizen, like fellow resident. We bleed too. We bleed just like anybody else bleeds. We were scared. You could see in our faces that we were terrified.
Marissa says the agents refused to leave any contact information or business cards. She believes the agents wore logos connected to ICE, the U.S. Marshal Service, and the FBI. Today, the U.S. Marshal Service says their team was not involved. We also reached out to the FBI asking about that agency's level of involvement. Last week, they told us they assisted in this case. Late this afternoon, they told us they were not on the scene. They told us to contact Homeland Security, so we did. A spokesperson told us they would look into it and get back with us. So far, we've heard nothing. As for the family's phones, electronics, and cash, they have no idea which agency has their belongings or how to get them back.
Local reporting from KFOR, the NBC affiliate in Oklahoma City. I have to tell you a couple things about this. First of all, we put in our own request for comment to the U.S. Marshal Service, the FBI, and the Department of Homeland Security. Now, the woman who this happened to, she says that the agents were wearing insignia from the U.S. Marshal Service, ICE, and the FBI. But also, and this is very interesting, the U.S. Marshal Service told KFOR that their agents were not involved. And the U.S. Marshal Service told us the same thing tonight. Their Office of Public Affairs told us that they contacted the U.S. Marshals team in Oklahoma. Quote, they were not involved in this incident. We had no one there. Okay, that leaves the FBI and Homeland Security. Now, the FBI initially told KFOR that they were assisting on this case. They were assisting Homeland Security. So call them. But then today, the FBI changed its mind in terms of its account of what involvement the agency had had. And they said, actually, FBI agents weren't there, weren't involved at all. Okay, I don't know how to explain that change, but that's the change. Homeland Security, meantime, isn't saying anything at all. Not to KFOR and not...
Okay, well, this is all about the Insurrection Act signed by Donald J. Trump on May 29th, 2025. Let's get it. Uh-oh, 2 days ago. Donald Trump's new order sparks martial law concerns. President Donald Trump has ordered federal agencies to increase the flow of military and national security equipment to local law enforcement, a move that has raised concerns about the militarization of policing across the United States. Why it matters. Research into militarized police forces has found the practice can erode public trust, escalate encounters between police and citizens, right? I mean, that is the plan. And blur the distinction between military operations and domestic law enforcement. Okay? You won't be able to tell if it's the military or it's the police. They're going to be the same. This executive order specifically has increased fears around an encroachment toward martial law. The president has already called for this government to review the Insurrection Act, which would give more domestic power to the military, and now wants to provide regular law enforcement with militaristic material. See, there he is. Okay, he's signing it. Fuck it. See that? That's an executive order. That's what he's doing. Agent Orange himself. Orange as fuck. See? Alrighty. Now, let's go into martial law is a state of emergency in which military forces temporarily replace civilian authorities. So they're taking the place of the law enforcement, of local and state federal law enforcement agencies. Right? They're replacing them. Usually during times of crisis or when civilian law enforcement is unable to maintain order. What the fuck? There's nothing jumping off. They expect, because of the tariffs that Donald Trump has implemented and the repercussions and consequences of pushing these tariffs, there's no food on the shelves in less than 2 weeks. So they're rolling out the martial law troops within 2 weeks. Okay? America will be fully under martial law July 29th, 2025. Okay? During this time, this full 90 days, they're going to go through taking out outspoken ministers, preachers, individuals standing on street corners, anybody that speaks against the government under the Sedition Act of 1798. Okay? Anyway, martial law is a state of emergency in which military forces temporarily replace civilian authorities, usually during times of crisis or when civilian law enforcement is unable to maintain order. It suspends regular civil law and rights. It suspends it. So the Constitution of the United States is suspended. Okay? That means that Posse Comitatus is suspended. Okay? Let's get it. In legal terms, Posse Comitatus, Latin for power of the country, refers to a group of citizens called upon by a sheriff or other law enforcement official to assist in maintaining the peace, apprehending criminals, or executing legal precepts. This power stems from common law and allows officials to mobilize local residents to support law enforcement efforts. The term, historical context, the term posse has been used in Western movies when a sheriff would gather a group of citizens to pursue outlaws, highlighting its role in enforcing the law in rural areas. Modern application. When the use of a posse comitatus is less common today, it can still be authorized in certain situations, particularly in rural areas where law enforcement resources may be limited. Distinction from vigilante groups. A posse comitatus differs from vigilante groups as it operates under the authority of a sheriff and is intended to maintain public order, not to administer justice outside the legal system. The Posse Comitatus Act is a United States federal law, takes its name from this legal concept but has a different scope. The act prohibits the use of military for domestic law enforcement except in specific circumstances. Okay, the Posse Comitatus Act is a United States federal law signed on June 18, 1878 by President Rutherford B. Hayes that limits the powers of the federal government in the use of federal military personnel to enforce domestic policies within the United States. In simple terms, the Posse Comitatus Act of 1878, which removed the military from regular civil law enforcement, was enacted in response to the abuses resulting from the extensive use of the Army in civil law enforcement during the Civil War and the Reconstruction. Okay? And Donald Trump just removed that under martial law. Okay? Key aspects of martial law. Temporary replacement of civilian authority. Martial law is a temporary measure where the military assumes control from civil governments. They assume control. Fuck you. Do as I say or be shot. Get in your house. It's 5 o'clock in the evening. Get in your house and we're going to blow your goddamn brains off. Okay? Typically when those governments are unable to maintain order. Now that Donald Trump has signed this thing, you have till from April 29th, when it was originally signed, until July 29th. Within that 3-month period of space of time, April to May, May to June, June to July, 29th, 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 29th. Okay? They can do whatever they want. Okay? I know it sounds ridiculous, but you just saw a video right now of them doing whatever the fuck they want outside of the law and legal jurisdiction of the Constitution of the United States. They can't do that shit, but they're doing it. You just saw a video with proof that they're doing it. Okay? Right? Suspension of civil rights and liberties. On the video you just saw, that woman and her family's civil rights and liberties were suspended. Civil rights, like freedom of speech, movement, and assembly, can be suspended during martial law. Military enforcement. The military takes over law enforcement duties, including maintaining order, arresting individuals, and enforcing curfews. Are we clear? Military court. This is not what you want. Regular civil courts may be replaced by military tribunals, which may not adhere to the same standards of legal process as civilian courts. Justification for declaration. Martial law is typically justified in situations where civilian authority is absent, ineffective, or has ceased to function. There is a threat to public order, safety, or security. There is a natural disaster, civil war, or other emergency that overwhelms civilian authorities. The only thing that was going to overwhelm civilian authorities is not having food on the shelves. If there's no food on the shelves, yeah, it's going to cause a huge problem. Okay, let's go to 2nd Ezra, chapter 6, verse 22. And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. The full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. Let's find a picture of the... What was that? Boom, boom. Okay. Of these pictures being suddenly found empty. Let me find something. I'm going to find a picture in here. I'm sure I got one. Alrighty. Boom. The full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. The full storehouses, Walmart, Sam's Wholesale Club, Costco, and any other Kroger affiliate shall suddenly be found empty. Shall suddenly be found empty. Okay? Empty. Empty. Nothing there. You'll have a full paycheck. Oh shit. There's nothing to buy. What are you gonna do? I'll tell you what you're gonna do. 2nd Ezra, verse 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. And one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands. Is this not civil war? Civil unrest? Okay. What is the modern day sword? The gun. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. If there's nothing on the shelf, they're going to kick your door in, trying to find some canned goods, some ramen noodles, some water, some medicine, something, goddammit, that will ease the pain of the affliction and stress that they're dealing with of their family. They're not going to give a shit about your family. Well, that's going to cause you to call 911. I'm going to call the police. Well, the POSSE COMITATUS Act would be suspended. Thereby, martial law will be implemented. Thereby, military forces will take over the place of local and state law enforcement agencies. And you will be subject to a military tribunal and subject to summary execution on the spot. Okay? They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. 911 is going to be offline because they're currently being amalgamated with the government military forces. Okay? They're going to work together to take everything from you and put you in a FEMA camp for you to be micro C-hipped in your right hand, your left hand, Or you can have the Synchron brain chip because you're pissed off at Neuralink for some reason. Who gives a shit? Let's go to Revelation chapter 13, verse 16.
Pronóstico de precipitación.
Okay. Can't go there right now because I've had to deal with this miscellaneous bullshit. So, what I'm going to do is do this. I'm going to do this. Revelation chapter 13, verse 16. And he causeth all, let's start at verse 15. Revelation chapter 13, verse 15. And he, now we just saw a picture of Agent Orange signing executive orders, right? Had the power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast, right? And the image of the beast is the cashless society that they're setting up under central bank digital currency. That the image of the beast should both speak, and it's speaking right now, saying that this is what's going to happen and there's nothing you can do about it in the video. Then you hear them speaking. And it caused that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So, by martial law, summary execution, okay, and threat of a military tribunal, right, without due process of law, summary execution, posse comitatus, yeah, one's going to overpower the other. It's just that simple. Okay? So you're going to be unalived. There's two ways they can make you unalived in this circumstance. There's two ways they can do that. One way they can make you do that is they'll not give you the mark of the beast RFID chip and put you in a FEMA camp, a Federal Emergency Management Agency camp. Well, there you have the red list, the blue list, and the yellow list. The red list are individuals that are outspoken ministers and righteous men who are standing on street corners, risking their lives and freedom to spread this truth of the gospel of what the United States government is doing to the people. Okay, summary execution, extermination on the spot, right? Because you're spreading sedition against the government. You're a criminal. You must be by summary execution. I hereby have the authority vested in me by the United States government of summary execution to blow your goddamn brains out. Eugene Finley and such or Robert Reynolds or Judy Jennifer whatever. Fuck, you know what I mean? Any goddamn body. Instant summary execution. Oh, that's right. You don't know what summary execution is, do you? Oh, let's go get that one then. Let's get it. Uh-oh. Summary execution. Hold on, let me see if I can turn this up again. Okay. Hold on. And then I'm going to close it up. Summary execution, also known as extrajudicial execution, refers to the unaliving of a person, usually without a full or fair trial or legal process. It's the immediate deprivation of life, often as a result of sentence imposed without the respect of due process guarantees. In most legal systems, summary execution is illegal due to its violation of fundamental rights. Summary execution is the instantaneous putting to death of a person, typically after a quick and informal process and without the right to a fair trial. Okay. Purpose. Summary execution is often used as a tactic to intimidate, or to control a population and is considered a serious violation of human rights. Okay? So, this woman on this YouTube video that you just saw, right? By Agent motherfucking Orange, right? Agent Orange himself, Donald motherfucking Trump, is pushing it. So, you got till July 29th. If somebody comes up missing in your family before July 29th, you know what happened. You know what's going to happen. You know where they're at. And you know what's going to happen if they are deemed a criminal. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Hamashiach. Shalom.